appears. Okay, so it's almost time. Good evening. Welcome to the August 9th reconvened regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Today is Thursday, August 17th. The time is 7 p.m. sharp. This meeting is streamed on the village website. The video and audio is recorded and will be available online after the meeting and also on the village website. At this time, I'm going to call the roll. Mayor Pro Tem Trustee Pacheco is excused. Trustee Lewis.
Present.
Trustee Benavides.
Here.
Trustee Radnovich.
Here.
We will begin at item 11, new business. Item 11A is discussion and approval of resolution number 2023-08-02. A resolution declaring the intent of the Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque, New Mexico, to issue industrial revenue bonds entitled Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque, New Mexico Industrial Revenue Bonds, parentheses, Clover Holdings, comma, LLC, project, parentheses, Series 2023. Administrator Simon.
All right, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, trustees. Before you is the inducement resolution for the beef jerky IRB that we were discussing last week. This allows the company to purchase or get in line for purchase of tax-exempt equipment and property. Tonight we have both the co-owners of the company as well as a member of Chris Muirhead's firm, Catherine McKinney, to explain the inducement resolution.
Good evening, Mayor, members. Oops, let's see if I can get this in the right spot. Good evening, Mayor, members of the Board of Trustees. Before you tonight is the inducement resolution that really does a few things. It begins the process of the village and the company initiating the conversation and issuance of industrial revenue bonds. There's no obligation to continue past the inducement resolution and no obligation to adopt the ordinance or issue the bonds. The resolution also authorizes the notice to be published. And I think it says September 13th, but you're not wed to that. And in fact, that may need to be pushed out to provide the statutory notices. And finally, it allows the company, as Ann mentioned, to begin making the purchases using the non-taxable transaction certificates. And if the bonds ultimately would not be issued, that any abated tax would need to be paid by the company. So really, this is just the beginning of the process, as Chris, I think, probably outlined for you. It just begins the conversation and allows the village to move forward.
Ms. McKinney, would you please state your full name and address for the record, please?
Sure. I apologize. Catherine McKinney with Modrell Sperling. I'm at 4800 Valle Romantico Way Northwest in Albuquerque.
I think before we get to comments from you and also the applicant, I'd like to follow through with our normal process. And would you like the applicant to come forward at this time?
That would be wonderful if you all want to come up to the podium and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your firm.
Hi, I'm Mark Lumity. I'm with V-Hills Beef Jerky, also Clover Holdings, LLC. My address is 2414 Griegos Road, Northwest, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87107.
And I'm Matthew Cunningham, the general manager of V-Hills Beef Jerky. My address is 8308 Rio Doso Road, Northeast, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87109.
Did you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing and what you intend to do?
Sure. We prepared this presentation for you to help outline that information to make it a little bit easier to understand. Veals Beef Jerky is a beef jerky manufacturing company in the state of New Mexico. It's been in business since 2000. It's relocated a few times, so it's a 23-year-old business. It currently is located less than a mile south of our proposed location in unincorporated Bernalillo County on 2nd Street. So our current facility consists of about 4,500 square feet of production space and a 1,200 square foot retail store. The vast majority of our product is sold in wholesale to other vendors around the state and in the region. We, for the past several years through the pandemic, have been unable to meet demands for our product. In other words, we have more demand than we can produce. And so that is the primary reason why we are looking to relocate and expand our facilities. We have actually been turning down business in the course of the last several years. So I think most folks are familiar with our product. It's available widely in a lot of convenience stores in the area, such as Speedway, 7-Eleven, as well as retailers such as Costco. So it has a lot of brand name recognition in the area. The company was founded in 2000 by Charlie Vigil in Algodones, and since then it's changed hands a few times, and I acquired the business about 2 years ago. Without getting into too much detail about our product, what we're looking to do here with our project is relocate our business about 9/10 of a mile north in the corner of 2nd Street and El Pueblo, which is the former Victory Christian School. We've acquired that property from the church. In the process of evaluating possible purchasers, the church was very adamant that whoever that new neighbor was going to be a good neighbor and someone desirable to be the church's neighbor. So we went through this very long process with them. So that property was purchased in April of last year, and now we are in the process of developing plans to renovate it and to equip it for our facilities. The total project cost is approximately $4.2, $4.3 million. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But by moving the business over, we will be bringing with us at least 30 employees that will now be part of the Los Ranchos tax base. And it's likely to be more as we grow our production. Any questions?
Well, before we get to questions from the governing body, Ann, do you have any more to say?
No, I think I'm good, thanks.
Okay, then before I get to questions from the governing body and then open it up for the public, I need a motion to approve Resolution 2023-08-02.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-08-02.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, now I'm going to go to discussion and questions from the governing body. I'm going to start with Trustee Lewis.
I have none at this time.
Okay. Trustee Benavides.
So I did have two issues last week when we talked about the advertisement of this. One of them has since been resolved. It's just my ignorance of what an industrial revenue bond is all about. I get that, and I understand the advantage to the village and to you as well. So that leaves me with my second issue. Have you had any complaints by the surrounding neighbors where you are currently located?
None to my knowledge. It's been there. We're in leased facilities right now, and we've been at that site for in excess of 10 years.
Going on 9 to 10 years.
Are there any odors coming out of the manufacturing?
Periodically, you'll smell like green chili. So
Butter
that's,
mesquite.
yeah.
Okay, there's no beef or waste kind of products that you?
No, it's most of the odors, if any, when we produce is spice related.
Okay. One final thing, and you do not have to answer this question because it might be private, but how much do you have in sales per year?
Yeah, I think that would be something we wish to keep confidential.
Okay, that's fine.
I would say, though, that we are looking at increasing our sales, obviously, by moving to a bigger facility.
I will add to that we are the largest beef jerky manufacturer in the state of New Mexico.
Okay. That's all I have.
Trustee Radnovich.
My questions are, hi. My questions aren't so much about whether or not we should talk to you. I'm more than willing to hear what you have to say. My question's kind of for Ann and for Nan. If we were to vote yes tonight in favor of talking, how would that work within the village? How would that work? Would the trustees have any say in what the village administration is talking to V Hills about and what they plan to do?
I'll start. Mayor, Trustee Radnovich, trustees. By voting yes tonight, we are only talking about the IRB, the Industrial Revenue Bond, and whether we want to welcome this company into the village. If you're talking about the site development plan and some of the way that they're going to expand the current church school building and those kinds of things, that would be a separate discussion. So that would not be something that you would be voting on tonight.
That would be something that the trustees would be able to discuss, see, and approve as a village governing board.
Mayor, Trustee Radnovich, trustees, not necessarily. The changes that they are proposing are less than 20% of the overall facility, which per our code allows us to administratively approve those changes.
Would the public have any say in it?
The public was publicly noticed, Mayor, Trustee Radnovich, and had no adverse comment.
That means that the public notices went out to people that live within 300 feet of the facility, right?
Mayor, Trustee Radnovich, correct.
So, Ann, how many people live within 300 feet of that facility?
Mayor, Trustee Radnovich, I don't know.
Can I count 'em?
didn't do that notice, but we could look it up for you.
Can I count them on my two hands?
I didn't do the notice, Mayor, Trustee Radnovich, that was done by Planning and Zoning team, but we can look it up.
Okay. The rest of my questions have to do with what it's going to be. And I did look, thank you for sending the site development plan in. I did look at it, and please don't take offense, but having the loading dock facing the corner of, and I understand why you did set it up this way, but having the loading dock facing the corner of the entrance to our village is not a very pleasing kind of view, my humble opinion. So what do you intend to do? And it's actually the old Yanomoto's too, not just the church school, right? What do you intend to do to the building itself? Can you talk about that?
You mean the renovations?
There's a lot of windows on that building. If it's turning into a manufacturing facility, I'm guessing those windows would go away.
No, that is not true. The vast majority of the windows are retained, and the exterior of the building will look relatively unchanged. The interior of the building is completely being regutted so that we can repurpose it, because it's mostly classrooms and administrative space. But from the exterior, the building will largely look unchanged.
So your manufacturing facilities will be open to public view from the outside? Because you can see...
We have structured it in such a way that it is not necessarily visible from public view, and we have put the retail component of ours street facing. So most of the production occurs behind that, so it's not necessarily visible from public.
I see. So the retail part is hiding it.
Essentially, correct.
I see. Would you, The loading dock, I noticed, is in full view of the trail, the 2nd Street and El Pueblo intersection.
No, if you go look at the space as it currently stands, there's a fence that obscures that view from 2nd Street.
So you'll leave the fence?
Yeah, or
That was
replace
the
it
old
with.
Yanamoto's fence?
Correct, or put something in place that is similar. Because right now, from that trail, you cannot see that.
Okay. I'm not sure I agree with you, but okay.
Yeah, you're free to go look. Yes.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Sorry?
You're free to go look.
Oh, I have.
Yeah,
I
you'll
have.
see that the fence right now obscures the view to the rear of the building.
But it's not tall enough to obscure an 18-wheeler. Would there be 18-wheelers coming there?
We would receive deliveries, we anticipate maybe once a week. And they would be during normal business hours, meaning 9 to 5.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions, Mayor.
Okay. We're now going to call up the individuals who signed up prior to listing on the sheet. You may sit down. We will start with Loretta Chavez-Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. My name is Loretta Chavez-Smith. I live at 536 Chavez Road, Northwest. We have a problem with this. Since they're already going to be coming into the village, nobody's asked the questions, or I haven't heard the questions being asked. What's this going to cost the village? There's legal fees, there's all of this stuff for this bond to come through. What is the village going to come out of that? I mean, what is going to be the net gain for sales, because they're wholesale? I mean, we're going to invest, not we going to invest, but there's going to be a $5 million bond. But what's going to be our net gain out of all of this when it's all said and done with? The wholesale part of it, we get nothing. Then there's the small retail, 1,200 square feet. Seriously, what is this? They're already going to be in the village. I mean, they've already committed to be in this village. So what is it going to net us in the long run for the bottom line, the dollars? Let's just talk the dollars. What's it going to net the village? Let me
offer this comment now. And at what point would the village be willing to answer that specific question? Not that we have to answer it tonight, but at what point?
Mayor and trustees, I'm happy to answer any questions that the trustees have after public comment.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so that was put out there to take a close consideration and look at.
Thank you. Okay, there's a David. Did somebody sign up with a first name David? I can't recognize
Mayor
his
and
name.
that was from the sign up from last Wednesday, so that perhaps that individual is not in tonight.
So that person is not here. Now, Mark Lemony you've already spoken. Okay. Joe Craig, please come forward.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees, Joe Craig, 505 Calle del Pajarito. For years, I have worked in economic development, Albuquerque Economic Development, which is now area, watched industrial revenue bonds. I think it's a good economic development tool. I guess I knew the previous owner, if you bought it 2 years ago, who was the son-in-law of my plumber, highly recommended. The beef jerky is some of the best I've ever had. You guys have absolutely ruined it for me buying beef jerky anywhere. Great service, great people. Really, thank you. I knew last year when you guys were looking at buying this property, it's a beautiful property. Yanamoto's did a great job. I'm really excited that we're bringing in a good business to this. So thank you for this. On another hand, this has got to be the absolute worst presentation I've ever seen before, our trustees. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what our commitment is. We don't know how the company has not disclosed anything. You haven't seen anything. We haven't seen anything. It concerns me. On one hand, I welcome these guys. On the other hand, we're going to be committed for a long time. And if, from what I understand, we will lease the property back to them until the bond is completed. So I'd like more information. I think we need to move forward. But thank you, guys. I think this is the first time the village has ever done an IRB. We have other bonds, which people have asked me about. We have bonds before Albuquerque Academy, Sandia Prep, and Bosque School. I don't know what our bonding capacity is. I have no idea. And those are separate bonds. These are IRBs. So we need more information,
Time has
please.
expired.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bob Keers, please come forward. Oh, there's more?
I'm Bob Keir, 7037 Guadalupe Trail. I heard some things tonight that bother me. If you approve this bond, your control is gone. It's over. Did I hear that correctly? No more public input, nothing except what Ann might decide she wants to approve. That really bothers me. Secondly, I've been in business for a long time. Do you have enough gross revenue to cover the cost of these bonds? And if you do not, what happens to the village? What is our responsibility from there? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Gordine, please come forward.
I am concerned with procedures that are being followed in the village. And I noticed that—
Ms. Gordine, before you carry on, would you mind?
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, Gordine McKenzie, 7315 Guadalupe Trail Northwest. I'm concerned that a lot of times our government here is run by surprise. And when that surprise happens, it destabilizes our governing body. And I'm not sure who is setting the agenda, but the fact that it wouldn't go through normal approval processes and that the trustees wouldn't have a say in it, I think is very concerning. And I have a question about how is the agenda set? Who can bring an agenda for approval? And I think we need more information instead of rushing to just approve everything. And no disrespect for your business or your business procedures, but I would urge you to defer until you have more information, until you are sure that the procedures are being followed. I believe I heard that they would only have administrative approval. And does that mean that trustees advocate the usual approval process? We know how that has happened in other things and hasn't ended in a good way. I'm not disparaging anyone here, but I am wondering about our government procedures. Last week, when we had the list of capital improvements, it seemed to be a surprise, and people scrambled quickly to get their list. It could have been handled in a much better way. You could have given the staff list, residents, how the residents ranked it, and then trustees could have had time to make a list. I urge you to slow down and think about deferring till we have more information.
Nancy Mangiaroni, please come forward.
Thank you. Nancy Nangiaroni, 7315 Guadalupe Trail. Esteemed mayor and trustees, I don't usually use those honorifics, but why not? I want to welcome you gentlemen with your business to the village. Veal's jerky, I've seen it around. I haven't tasted it. I'm not much of a meat eater. And I worry a little bit about your business because we know that with climate change, we know that one of the big carbon dioxide consumers is eating meat. And so I worry a little bit about it, but you seem to, I'm sure you know what you're doing. I share the concern about administration approval on this project. I think the administration lost my trust and that of many in the village and has not had opportunity to earn that back. Maybe this will be part of that, but it would be, I just think that's a concern. And to that end, I would ask the three gentlemen if they would be open to working with the village. Let's say we find out, you know, once you're in business that there's something not great. Maybe the path that the trucks take in, or maybe the view of the loading dock or something. And would you be willing to work with the village, you know, in a friendly way if there's some appearance item that somebody says we can do better? So I'd ask you that. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This closes the public comment on this item on the agenda. The floor is now closed for comments. However, I would like the trustees to take the opportunity to ask additional questions if that's their desire. I'll start with Trustee Lewis.
I don't really have a question for you gentlemen. I would like to assure people in attendance and village residents that this is, first of all, it's strictly opening the discussion. We don't have a lot of information because we haven't started discussions with them yet. There'll be a lot of questions to ask. When you talk about not having control of the situation, you know, the 20% that can be done administratively is strictly for their remodel. It's not for the industrial revenue bonds. It's not for the discussions we will have that either side can walk away from at any time. And to address Bob's question, you know, if they default, we simply give them their property back and we're not out anything. And so I think there's some misinformation out there, and I think there's some confusion over here's what we're doing with industrial revenue bonds, and we haven't done anything at this point. We're strictly opening a door to discussion and to answer all the questions that people have and let us know what their questions are. Then there's a whole nother item when you get down to what they're going to do with their property and their remodeling of it. And so there's just two very different issues, and we've always had on our books that somebody's remodeling their house and they're doing less than 20% of it, or a commercial building. It's just been administrative. If there's some concern with people about that, I'm sure we can look at that. But first of all, I just want to make sure that everybody's clear on the two issues and that we are not committing to anything other than just starting negotiations, period.
Trustee Benavides, any further questions or comments?
Well, I did like the one comment that Nancy made in regards to would you be willing to work with us? And the one thing that I think about is El Pueblo can be a very busy street during rush hour. And I know, I heard you say that maybe one semi-truck once a week, this doesn't sound like a whole lot. But if it's during rush hour and you're backing a truck up, it could be an issue. Maybe you can convince me that it's not. Yeah, in regards, so thank you for your explanation about the two separate issues, Trustee Ellen, because I think it did get commingled. Yeah, it's the issue about only needing administrative approval has been done time and time again for other businesses that only needed to do a remodel. So, and it has nothing to do with the industrial revenue bond. So the risk to the village, after talking to Attorney Nan Winter and talking to Ann Simon, there's no risk from what I understand. And the benefit to the village is substantial. I don't think we can give you numbers today, but maybe Ann Simon can talk about an industrial revenue bond that we did in the past and give you an example of how that works. It's pretty good. In fact, I think it's likely to be much better than any gross receipts tax they'll get out of their storefront. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Trustee Radnovich.
I want to thank you too, Alan. Thank you for the explanation. I understand what a industrial revenue bond is, and I appreciate the partnership that would create with you guys. I do care about, though, the aesthetics and the fact that it's at a gateway to the village.
Yeah.
And so I'd want some, I don't know if assurance is the word, or some say in that part of what we're doing here. I think it's a good deal. I agree with what Trustee Benavides just said. I think we, from a business perspective, I totally love what the whole thing represents, but I do care about, especially because of the location, the site development plan and the architecture and how that will affect that particular corner. So unless we can change that, I don't have any other real questions. I think that's all I wanted to say.
I don't know, Ann Simon, would you like for Nan to say anything, or do you have anything further to say?
I don't know if there's a direct question that you want me to respond to, Mayor, trustees. Catherine also can maybe clarify some of the misunderstanding that the public has, I think, about this not affecting our bonding capacity, the benefit back to the village in addition to the jobs, the retail sales, the payment in lieu of taxes. Why don't you go ahead, Ms. McKinney?
Yes, happy to do so. Catherine McKinney again with the module firm. So there are multiple advantages to the village of engaging in these economic development projects. There's the pilot payments that will be coming in on land that I think up to this point probably did not generate much in property taxes, given that it was a church site. There's also the encouragement of businesses to locate within the villages, in the village limits. Complementary businesses may be encouraged to locate here. And it's just a tool that the village has to encourage this type of development within the village. And there's also, of course, some job growth that occurs with it. I guess some of the other topics are, unless you want to have questions associated with that.
Well, I don't have questions, but if the trustees have another question for you, go right ahead. Go ahead, trustee.
Yeah, I think I do, Mayor. And I guess this is a question for you guys. So ever since Yanamoto's left that site, there's been an asphalt parking lot just sitting there. People use it to turn around and go the other way because of the design of 2nd Street and Paseo. But it's just sitting there. And when I saw your site plan, it's going to be the same way. There's going to be this sort of dead zone right at the corner. And so my question is, would you, I know you have a business plan and you're ready to go with that business plan, and it seems to be very successful for you, which I commend you on. That's awesome. But that whole sort of kind of unused space, and then having the addition of how a large truck would there'd be a loading dock there, and how a large truck would maneuver around there. It just still is kind of, please don't take this wrong, but dead space. It's space that's unutilized. It's space that's not particularly pretty. It's a parking lot. Are there things that you can think of that would fit into your business model that you could do with that space to make it better?
Would you like to respond?
And that may be unfair of me to ask in a very short time like this, but.
It's never unfair.
Matthew Cunningham again. With the design of the space that we have, we've put the loading dock as far to the south end as possible, and actually even moved it behind the building as much as possible. We're kind of limited with the space we have to be able to have the trucks come in and have unencumbered access to be able to turn around, back up, and then get out. We don't appreciate the turnstile parking lot situation that's there. It's nuts. I mean, craziness. So we do want to design something where they can't use it as a thoroughfare. Not sure what that looks like. We are also limited because we have to have so much parking for customers and our employees. So the parking lot we can't do a whole lot with because we need all the parking spaces.
For your employees.
For the employees and for the retail store as well. We're mandated by the town of how many, and Bernalillo County, how many parking spaces we have to have. It's also, I believe, because I'm not an architect and I'm trying to remember what my architect said, we're limited to what we can do and how we can pull the trucks in because they need to be able to get out. Mm-hmm. I will say that along the 2nd Street corridor, we do currently, the fence is half block and half a chain link. And the chain link does have the slats in it. I'm a tall guy. I think you're kind of tall. I'm not sure if we can see over it or not. You travel it. I travel it from my car. I don't really walk the street. So, it's definitely, we could raise that fence. There will be fencing on the south side of the parking lot, so that there'll be a gate to open to let the semi come in, and then he'll have the whole turnaround to go out the other side of the gate. Does that kind of give you some idea of where we're at? And does it answer your questions?
It doesn't really answer my questions, but it does. I know where you're at there. Yeah.
Yeah. We can't put.
I'm pretty good at spatial organization.
We can't put the dock on the west side because there's just not enough space.
I get it.
And we're up against really the property line.
Yeah, you are.
And then there's the ponding area that we have to have as well to catch all the water. So we're really, where the dock is, we're willing to do whatever you think would make it look better. But as far as moving it, I don't see where, if you have a better idea, we'll definitely take it to our architect. But at this point, the only other option we had was to pull it up in the parking lot and unload it in the parking lot. And we thought it'd be better behind the fence and more aesthetically pleasing for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for your explanation. So are there any further questions from the trustees? Go ahead. Okay. Nan, you want to say something? Please go ahead.
Yeah, Mayor, I just wanted to correct some misconceptions, and I think Trustee Lewis hit it on the head. I think some folks might be conflating that there are 2 separate issues pending. This evening, we are hearing an inducement resolution. It is an invitation offered by the village to engage in another conversation with these people. And eventually what will come to you is a lease agreement resulting from this invitation that we're calling an inducement resolution tonight. So there will be another hearing. There could be closed sessions to negotiate that lease. There could be one hearing, there could be two hearings on the lease. So that's one thing I wanted to clarify. Tonight's action is just an invitation to bring another action before you called a lease. There's also seems to be some confusion that we're impacting bonding capacity. This is not the kind of transaction where the village is borrowing. It's the other way around. This is a transaction in which the lease will likely result in payments to the village for a period of time. So it's the opposite. There's revenue coming from these gentlemen to the village, not the other way around. So in that sense, there is no risk to the village. The risk to the village might be that the county offers them a better deal across the street. That's the biggest risk you face. But we are doing this invitation this evening to engage in a conversation with you. That lease presents opportunities to negotiate. So again, you will have at least another hearing on that, maybe two. And then of course there will be another hearing yet on the ordinance that was advertised or approved for advertisement last week. So you'll have at least two, maybe three hearings on this IRB. Again, that's not to be confused with the site development plan process, which has been administratively approved, as many site development plans are. But there is still opportunity for, there could be an appeal of that. These gentlemen still have to come in for a building permit. So there's still activity going on that side, and there's still lots of opportunity to better understand not only the inducement invitation process, the lease process, but also the building permit process.
Thank you, Nan. Unless there are further questions from the board, I'm going to call for the question. Call for the roll call vote. Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Trustee Radnovich.
No.
Thank you. Motion carries 2-1. Item B, discussion and approval of a voting delegate and alternate 2023 New Mexico Municipal League Annual Conference to be held August 30th to September 1st, 2023. I will be attending the meeting and I will be the voting delegate. So therefore, I need a motion to approve me as the voting delegate.
Motion to approve Mayor Don Lopez as the voting delegate.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion from the governing body? Thank you. The floor is now closed for comments. Call for the question. Call for the roll call vote. Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Trustee Radnovich. Motion carries unanimously. Item C, discussion and approval.
I didn't say anything, Mayor.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But I would have said yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry. My mistake. Okay, item C is now discussion and approval of the destruction of records as allowed by resolution number 2022-12-04. Clerk Cedillo Molina.
Thank you, Mayor and trustees. In front of you is a list of records that we have listed for destruction. What you have in front of you is a little bit different. This is a revised sheet of paper than what's in the packet. Primarily, item number 4, I had inadvertently put FY before 2012 and included the year 2015, which this is 10 years, so it would only be through 2012. As you can see, I also did list the years of retention for each record. We will be contracting upon your approval with a company that will come to Village Hall and shred in front of us, provide us with the documentation, and that way we can know that it is a certificate of these documents that have been destroyed. So with that, I stand for questions and I request your approval.
Okay, before we get to any discussion from the governing body, I need a motion to approve the list for the destruction of records.
I'll motion to approve the list for the destruction of records.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion from the governing body?
Just a quick question. How often do we do this?
Mayor and trustees, we haven't done a destruction of records in several years, so this year we decided to get into the annex and start looking at those records. We do have them placed and categorized by year and when we can do it. As you know, in December, we had approved the resolution to adopt the New Mexico Municipal League destruction of record listing. So now we decided we better start getting moving with these records.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a quick question.
Go right ahead.
I've always been told by our lawyers in my private business that records should be kept till about 7 years before the point that for about 7 years to the point that, I'm not saying this right. I've always been told by our lawyer that that records should be kept for at least 7 years before we destroy them. And I noticed that the accounts payable files would be destroyed up until the year 2019, so I was wondering about that.
So as you know, and as you adopted, or shall I say approved, the New Mexico Municipal League record retention schedule, the years vary depending on what the document and record is. So this was this huge schedule that was attached to the resolution that you approved in December, and it does indicate what record and how many years it should be retained.
Thank you, Danielle.
Yes.
No other questions, Mayor.
All right, the floor is now closed for comments. I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Trustee Radnovich.
Yes.
Thank you. Are you opening for comments? No, sir. The motion carries unanimously. Why is that? Why is that, Mayor? Because this is not a topic for discussion, but I'll tell you what, if you want to make a comment, please come forward, Joe. I trust you and I value your opinion, so please come forward. I'm going to allow it because we have plenty of time, okay?
Mayor, trustees, Joe Craig, 505 Calle del Pajarito. I am concerned about this. We have a Citizens Advisory Committee that is meeting on a regular basis, looking at what happened on our 4th Street zoning. I've talked to Danielle, records of notices to residents have been destroyed. We have other things going on in our village that require records and notices. I don't know how our village center got expanded down the Chavis Road. There's a number of things that concern me here. I don't disagree with destroying records. I do that myself. But I think this is something that the trustees really need to look at and identify what is being destroyed. I don't know what else to say, but I think this is very important. Thank you.
Your comment is noted, sir. Okay, let's move to item D. Pursuant to section 3-11-6A, parentheses 1, NMSA 1978, subject to the approval of a majority of all members of the governing body, the mayor shall submit the names of employees to the Board of Trustees for confirmation. A, Rafael Clark Faust, Temporary Seasonal Farmer, Agri-Nature Center. Administrator Simon.
Hi, Mayor, trustees. I don't have much more to add to this. We're very fortunate that we were able to find this individual to help us out at the Agri-Nature Center on a temporary seasonal basis. I stand for questions.
Are there any questions from the governing body on this particular administrative item, basically? I need a motion to approve the confirmation of Mr. Clark Faust.
I make a motion to approve Mr. Clark Faust for employment.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion from the governing body? The floor is now closed for comments. I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Trustee Radnovich.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. We're now ready for trustee informal discussion. Trustee Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one thing this evening. I would like to see brought before the trustees within the next couple of months. I think the issue of compensation for the mayor and trustees
Next
been
month.
discussed.
It will happen next
It'll
month.
be on next month?
Yes.
Thank you. Then I have no further comment.
Okay. Trustee Benavides.
This particular issue with the industrial revenue bond, it would have been nice for me to hear more early on. And I think I could have been much more comfortable understanding the advantages and the risk, both to the village and to the company as well. I don't think there's anything that precludes you, Mayor, from maybe giving us a heads up on that. I don't think you have to worry about a quorum if you're just notifying this is coming up. It's in draft form, perhaps, but, you know, heads up. That might have helped to streamline the process.
Anything else?
That's all. Thank you.
Trustee Radnovich.
And I'd echo what Trustee Benavidez said. If we could have just heard about it before it just came to us with not even any warning at all, it would have been great. Okay. And I don't think there's any reason not to. So just saying. The other thing I wanted to bring up again is Hartnett Park. I've really been thinking about that a lot, and the barn and you know, our goals for the place. And I do believe, after reading some of the literature that I found online about the old Chavez hacienda that was here at one time, that we should stop looking at it as a place to develop and look at it more as a place to really understand. And so I have as I said last week, I have a friend that is in the environmental business, and I asked her what it might cost to do a real environmental study of Hartnett Park in that vicinity. And so I haven't gotten the amount yet, but I'd be happy to pass that on once I do.
I'd like
because I think it would be really it would be really important to us as a village to know what we can and can't do, because we can't, you know, for the barn, for instance, we can't build foundations because we don't know what's down there. You know, we shouldn't build any kind of HVAC systems to any great degree because we don't know what's down there. And the barn itself would need quite a bit of structural work to be able to even hold it. So, you know, and I think I said last week that I'd be a proponent of moving the barn, actually. But I really want to know what's there. And I know it's all buried, and I know it's, you know, it got washed away mostly in the flood, at least that's what I read. But I sure think before we spend too much money or time on Hartnett Park, we really ought to know. And so I continue to say I think it's important to know that from
I appreciate
from a
your comments
cultural
a great deal.
perspective.
I think you hit on something that's quite important. Any further comments from the governing body? Because I do have a comment at the end here.
Yeah, so, no, I like what you said. You know, because we always hesitate about, well, you know, can we do this or that? And I think all we're proposing now is pretty minor stuff, just a little bit more electrical power and lighting, which should not really disturb much of anything. In fact, maybe we go solar and we don't have to even run wires, you know, that could help. But yeah, it would be good to know if we have something of great significance there, because that could be a positive for the village, actually, yeah. So, thank you for that.
All right. Just a reminder, candidate filing date is Tuesday, August 29th at the Bernalillo County Clerk's office. I visited Bernalillo County Clerk yesterday. The filing location will be in the Ken Sanchez Auditorium, and it will be from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 29th. Interested individuals seeking candidacy for mayor and for trustees should review the 2023 candidate packet available on our website under the election tab. Please contact Danielle Cedillo Molina, village clerk, if you have any questions. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, motion to adjourn the meeting.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The reconvened meeting held today, August 17th, 2023 is now adjourned. The time is 7:54. Thank you, everybody. Nah.
All right. And we got beef jerky.